Michael Saylor projecting the Bitcoin price hitting $100 million per coin. That's right, which is probably the most epic price prediction I have ever heard before. So let me break this story down for you. He was interviewed by Patrick Bet David, and he asked him, like, where do you see Bitcoin going? And here's what Michael Saylor, the Giga Chad, had to share, quoting him word for word from this clip, which I shared on X, I think just yesterday, and it's already going viral. Let me refresh. You can see how many views this baby got, and that's why it's the title of today's show, because people are digging it. 93,000 views, not too shabby. We got almost 800 hearts and over 200 retweets, and here's what Michael Saylor says during this interview. I'm going to read it verbatim, word for word. Bitcoin is on a path to be worth let me start from the beginning. Bitcoin is on a path to be worth $100 million per coin, which means that the US dollar will have lost 99.9% of all of its value over 100 years. Warren Buffett knows this, and Charlie Munger knows this. And I want to stop right there because we all know Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are enemies of Bitcoin. They had been fighting it for a very long time, but they're not stupid. That's a fact. Appreciate that super chat. Much love, much respect. We'll be doing some Q&A after this featured story. But I agree with Michael Saylor. I think Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are too smart to not know the true value proposition of Bitcoin. They're just fudding it because they're the oligarchs. They're the old fiat money kings of this fiat, system. And they don't want Bitcoin to take over, but they already know it's going to happen. So they're doing everything in their power to try to FUD it and stop you from investing into Bitcoin. I truly do feel this way. Now, some other thoughts from Michael Saylor regarding some predictions. And could you imagine Bitcoin hitting $100 million per coin? And I think he's going to be right. But it's just a matter of time. By what year is the $1 million question? He also recently shared when interviewed on Natalie Brunell's Coin Stories pod, when asked, should we trust BlackRock with Bitcoin? Here's what Michael Saylor had to share. Bitcoin fixes everything. If we think about what that means, we need to be prepared for Bitcoin to infuse everything. The right way to think about it, Bitcoin's going to be a base layer, and there's going to be layer 2s, like Lightning Network, to move things fast. And there's going to be layer 3s, which is custodial, like the Cash App, like Coinbase, like Fidelity, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Apple, like Google. There's going to be custodial layer 3s, and they are going to exist to provide functionality or utility. And there are technical reasons to trust a third party. The best way to think about Bitcoin is Bitcoin offers sovereignty and integrity and empowerment, not just to the individual, but also to the family, the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm joking, he says the clan. The village, the city, the country, the state, the province, the country, the company, the institution, the agency, the group, the community, organization. Every one of those entities, they all have their own agency, and we don't want them to not have access to this. Bitcoin makes your country better, preach, makes your company better, makes your family better, makes your community better, makes your school better, makes you better. It's going to make everything better, but there's different types of wrappers we need to put it in. Pay attention. So we shouldn't be afraid of those things. Someone said, well, aren't you afraid that these big organizations, aka the BlackRocks, are going to be buying Bitcoin to centralize it? And I said, it's like asking me if I'm afraid someone in Japan is going to speak English and if that's going to undermine the English language. If Samsung is the biggest company in Korea and they start speaking English and they build support for English into their products, does that corrupt the English language? No, it actually makes English better. They are going to use it differently. What's the likelihood that Samsung can change the definition of love or change the meaning of 100 different words by adopting it? Not likely. So I think it's a protocol. The protocol is going to infuse everything, and we shouldn't be afraid of all the different ways that people choose to integrate, wrap, embed, or execute with Bitcoin. There is no one right answer, and the marketplace will determine the right mix of integrations of Bitcoin. Preach. Very wise words coming from Saylor. And next I want to share with you, he says demand for Bitcoin can grow up to 10x within the next 12 months. That's right. But first, massive shout out to or looks like MJ Matrix. I appreciate the super chat, fam. You're also in Puerto Rico. How cool. Says, I'm from Puerto Rico. I'd like to know your thoughts about Puerto Rico. Yes, we're going to talk about it. So after I finish with this featured story, let's discuss Puerto Rico, why I moved here, and some of the benefits of relocating here, if it's also on your radar. But let's get back to Michael Saylor. Some more predictions, because this stuff is lit. Thanks for subscribing to the channel, fam. Here's what Saylor has to say. I think that this next 12 months is going to be big, because demand on a monthly basis should double or triple or maybe go up by a factor of 10x, send it, let's go. Anywhere from 2 to 10. And the supply available for sale will be cut in half in April, 5 months out. So instead of $1 billion of Bitcoin available for miners each month, it'll be $500 million. It's pretty unprecedented that you'd go from a supply and demand balance of maybe 15 million of organic demand and 12 billion of organic supply. What happens when one doubles and the other one gets cut in half? The price is going to adjust up. Preach. You're going to have a ferocious competition and will amongst the Wall Streeters to get the most asset share, that you're going to have crypto exchanges competing, and you're going to have other tech companies getting involved. That'll be one check. So if you think about it like that, you just say, well, now we're going to double, and we're going to double again, and double again, and we're going to double again. That coin is going to continue to progress to $1 million per Bitcoin, 2 million per coin, 5 million per coin, 10 million per coin. And that's coming directly from Michael Saylor. But wait, there's more. We got some more insights for you. He also says it's going to grind up to replace gold. It'll go to $500,000 a coin, regardless of whether they fix these things. Here are the 3 things that are massive catalysts that cause an acceleration. These 3 things don't take us to 500,000 per coin. They take us to $5 million per coin. Here are those 3 things. Number 1, the spot ETF, where someone can go ahead and buy $100 million of Bitcoin via an ETF security. I think that's one. Number 2, your bank is going to custody it for you and lend against it. And number 3, I can mark it up or down on my balance sheet based on fair value. Preach. He also shares some thoughts here, analysis on that $10 million price prediction, with Saylor giving the nod to this analyst. Here's what Saylor tweeted here. Bitcoin is competing against gold, collectibles, art, equities, real estate, bonds, and money as a store of value in the 21st century. This analyst, Croesus, analyzes the opportunity and makes a compelling case for a $10 million Bitcoin price action. That's what's up. Now, Saylor also says that these major asset managers are going to send the Bitcoin price north of $1 million per coin. This is the last prediction I'm going to share with you from Saylor. Then we'll dive into our Q&A. It looks like a spot ETF will probably get approved. There is massive political pressure to approve one. Facts. The pressure's on, Mr. Gensler. The circumstances have changed, and now there is a way for the SEC to approve it without backtracking on its previous legal and policy guidance. Certainly, there is a lot of Wall Street entities that have a vested interest in seeing this happen. If you're an institution, one way to get Bitcoin exposure is to buy the underlying asset, but there have been challenges with finding the right exchange to buy it on and custody arrangement, so a simpler way to do so is simply buy the spot ETF. There are trillions of dollars of capital that is required to invest in a security that trades in these compliant forums, and that is understating the obvious. There's tens of trillions of dollars, so there's a lot of capital that can't buy the Bitcoin or self-custody the BTC. They don't want to do charter. Maybe it's against the tax code. Maybe when they raise $10 billion from public investors, they raised it to invest in securities, but not interested in property or commodities. So the spot ETF availability is a major milestone for these institutional adoption. The approval of the spot ETF is also a major milestone in regulatory clarity, which is tantamount to an endorsement. The engagement of Fidelity, Citadel, BlackRock, and Schwab. I mean, Schwab is synonymous with Wall Street, 100 years of Wall Street. So then you have Wall Street coming together to offer securities and exchange services and indirectly custody services for mainstream investors. And if we look out about 12 months, and if what I was saying, what are the key milestones that drive mainstream adoption of Bitcoin? One of them is clearly the spot ETF. The second is the designation that Bitcoin is an asset class, which we all know it is. The recognition of it as a legitimate commodity. It's a big deal when you got Jay Powell saying it's not going away. When Gensler, the head of the SEC and CFTC both say it's a digital commodity. Digital commodity might not sound like much, but when you go down the next round, like, is it a Ponzi scheme or is it a scam? Is it tulip bulbs? The difference between tulip bulbs and a digital commodity is a 0 versus a 1. So check this out. As I have said before, I'll repeat it again. If Bitcoin is not going to 0, it's going to $1 million per coin. It is either nothing, and if it's nothing, then it's getting scrubbed out and banned. And of course, we know it's not getting banned. There is no way Fidelity, Citadel, BlackRock, Charles Schwab, Deutsche Bank, Credit Agricole, Banco Santander all decide they're interested in this. They're not endorsing a tulip bulb, right? Once you go from 0 to 1, then the question becomes, well, it's an asset class, and if it is not going away, what's it worth? Well, it's worth 1% of the assets in the world, so that drives it up by a factor of 10 to 20. So there you have it. He also shares why you need to own at least 0.1 Bitcoin, but I'll save this prediction for another day. So what are your thoughts on Michael Saylor's $100 million Bitcoin price prediction and all the rest that I shared with you? Let me know in that live chat, and let's now do some Q&A.